Shalom. This week we are reading Parashat Vayigash, and he approached the 11th and penultimate Torah portion of the book of Bereshit, Genesis, beginning with the 18th verse of chapter 47. This parsha generally falls out within close proximity of Rosh Chodesh Tevet, the beginning of the new month of Tevet, as we observed this past week. The parsha continues the Torah's narrative of the events concerning Yosef and his brothers. The revelation of Yosef to his brothers, so dramatic and gripping, conveys many profound lessons relating to opposites, about love and hate, about suspicion and validation, about groundless rejection and unconditional acceptance, about families divided and families united. As we read it, we are caught up in the emotional crescendo of the moment, but we also get the strong sense that there's a dynamic here which transcends this scene, which goes far beyond this time and this place, that grand and majestic forces are at work here, that something is being put in motion that somehow relates to an eternal theme. The Torah, and we know that every word, every letter of Torah has profound significance and has eternal meaning, and not one word is superfluous. The Torah has recorded so much detail, has spent so much space relating to us the story of Yosef and his brothers. We know that we're dealing with archetypes of enduring, powerful importance. I mean, this is the third Torah portion dedicated to the story of Yosef. So much detail. Abraham, the father of the nation of Israel, called the friend of God, the first man who sought out a relationship with the Creator, he himself only got 3 Torah portions. And this is already the third Torah portion about Yosef. As much as there is for us to learn from the surface level of the story, there's much more here that's beckoning to us, even to our place in the here and now of the timeline. And it's to such an eternal idea, one that's not only viable but intrinsically imperative to the survival of the Jewish people, that I wish to relate to today. Because the concept of the reconciliation of Yosef and Yehudah is nothing less than the template of the redemption itself. So we recall that last week's Parsha of Miketz concluded with Yosef's demand, delivered by his agent, that Binyamin, who was accused of stealing Yosef's silver goblet, should be kept as a servant, while all the other brothers would be freed. Returning to Yosef's house, Yehudah spoke on behalf of all the brothers and implored that they should all remain in Egypt as servants of Yosef. But Yosef rejects this offer and says that they should all return to their father, to the land of Canaan, and only Binyamin should stay with him. Our Parsha is called Vayigash, and it begins with Yehudah approaching Yosef. This word, Vayigash, for which the Parsha is named, is laden with so much meaning. Our sages describe this as a showdown, the palpable tension that was brewing between these two powerful individuals as they prepare to face off. Our sages teach us that Yehudah was prepared to literally go to battle with Yosef over Benjamin's freedom. The brothers were prepared and willing and able to destroy all of Egypt if necessary. They had decided that they were going to do whatever it takes to return Binyamin to his father, to prevent him from being a slave to this ruffian standing before them. Yehudah at the lead, totally unaware that he himself sold this very man standing before him, his own brother, into slavery years before. Torah details Yehudah's long review of the events leading up to this moment from his perspective. Yehudah describes the difficult state that Yaakov has been in since Yosef's disappearance and the special relationship between Yaakov and Binyamin. How the father Yaakov's soul is literally bound up with that of the boy, and how the boy's safe return is a matter of life and death for his father. Yehudah ends his soliloquy by emphasizing that he personally guaranteed Binyamin's safety to Yaakov and implores that he should stay as a servant to Yosef in Binyamin's stead. Now Yosef is overcome. Now Joseph could not restrain himself in the presence of all who stood before him, so he called out, "Remove everyone from before me." Thus no one remained with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He cried in a loud voice. Egypt heard, and Pharaoh's household heard. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers could not answer him because they were left disconcerted before him. Face it, Yosef deserved an Academy Award for his flawless performance. He had them all fooled. What was the deciding factor that unraveled him, that robbed him of his feigned detachment and cool composure? Clearly and most undoubtedly, Yosef could no longer restrain himself. He decided that this had gone on long enough, and he could now be sure of the conclusion that he had sought, and he revealed himself to his brothers as a result of Yehudah's speech, particularly his words. For your servant took responsibility for the youth from my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I will have sinned to my father for all time. Now therefore please let your servant remain instead of the youth as a servant to my master, and let the youth go up with his brothers. This outstanding self-sacrificing dedication that Yehudah was ready to extend on behalf of his brother was the indication of real change. It was the exact opposite of what the situation had been in Yosef's time. So the brothers are shocked, speechless. Surely this is the last thing they expected. Yosef, sensitive to a fault, and doubtless inwardly concerned lest his brothers fear his anger or revenge, explains that his sail down to Egypt was only for the good, that it was all part of a divine plan, for now he's able to provide for his family for the remaining years of the famine. After their mutual reconcilement, Yosef sends the brothers with wagons and provisions provided by Pharaoh back to Canaan in order for the entire family, together with Yaakov, to return to Yosef in Egypt. With great emotion, Yaakov receives the news, and the family starts out for Egypt. He stops in Beersheba and offers offerings there, and Hashem appears to him and encourages him not to be afraid to go down to Egypt. God promises him that his descendants will become a great nation in Egypt and afterwards return to the land of Israel. Then follows a listing of Yaakov's descendants who came down to Egypt, 70 in all. Yaakov and his family reach Egypt, and Yaakov and Yosef are finally reunited. Yosef instructs his brothers to tell Pharaoh that they're shepherds so that he'll allow them to live in a separate area in Egypt. A delegation of 5 brothers meet with Pharaoh, and Yaakov himself has an audience with Pharaoh and blesses him. Yosef settles his family in the land of Goshen and provides for them during the famine while providing for the sustenance of all Egypt. The starving Egyptians give Yosef their money, their flocks, and ultimately their lands and their own bodies as servants to Pharaoh in exchange for food. Yosef establishes a system of tributes, whereby Pharaoh holds all the property, providing seed for the people to work the land, while the people return 1/5 of the produce to him. One of the biggest mysteries of Yosef in Egypt, and one of the most often asked questions, is why did Yosef not contact Yaakov to let him know that he was all right? Why didn't Yosef phone home, as the saying goes, send a messenger? He certainly had the power and the ability to get word to the land of Canaan. We know how concerned Yosef was for his father's welfare. We saw how he asked repeatedly as to his father, and as soon as he was ready to reveal himself, he did so with the words, I am Yosef, is my father still alive? But even these words, what was Yosef's intention with these words, expresses many levels of meaning. Many answers are offered to this question, but one simple idea is that although Yosef could have easily sent a messenger to let Yaakov know he was all right, he avoided contact because he was worried about the serious consequences the truth would have for his brothers, or Yaakov, to find out what really happened. Yosef, like his mother Rachel, who did not want to embarrass her sister, preferred to remain quiet so as not to embarrass his brothers and so their father would not punish them. Rather than take that chance, he instead accepted isolation and banishment from his father and family. He accepted all this upon himself, all out of dedication to his brothers, the same ones who threw him into the pit. Yehudah, in the meantime, the leader and representative of the tribes, has had a life-changing, transformative experience. Repents, and in the place of his former disdain and abandonment of his brother, he reveals responsibility, true dedication, unshakable love for Binyamin. So this whole experience has been, for everyone involved, a laboratory in appreciating others for who they are, and overcoming differences and fixing relationships. We have learned that whenever a subject appears in the Torah for the first time, that's the root from where we can derive understanding about the subject. So the story of Yosef and his brothers is the root of our understanding of a divided family that's ultimately united. And therefore this Shabbat of Vayigash, wherein we read of this family's reconciliation, must be the root, the opportunity for all those who suffer from such division to reconcile. There's a light of reconciliation shining out to the whole world from this week's Torah portion. But if you open up your heart in the deepest way, I would like to focus on one thing, to take this a bit further, as I mentioned, to relate to something very deep. The meeting, the unification of Yehudah and Yosef is a template for the future redemption. In the fixing of this relationship, a redemptive mechanism is being established for all time. As our sages have long taught, Ma'aseh Avot Siman Lebanim means, it's a dictum that means that which transpired for the forefathers is a sign for their children. What Yehudah and Yosef learned will have an effect forever. On the words in the very first verse of our Parsha, and Yehudah approached, the Midrash comments as follows. The ministering angels said one to the other, "Let us go down and watch as the ox and the lion prepare to attack each other." Usually, the ox is afraid of the lion, but now they are set to engage each other and set upon each other. This midrashic description is a description of Yosef and Yehuda. In Yaakov's blessing to his sons, found in next week's portion of Vayigash, chapter 49, Yehuda is described as a lion. A lion cub is Yehuda. From the prey, my son, you elevated yourself. And in Moses' blessing to the Israelites at the conclusion of the book of Deuteronomy in Vizot HaBracha, Yosef is described as an ox. A sovereignty is his ox-like one. Majesty is his, and glory will be like the horns of a re'em. With them shall he gore nations together. So what is this really all about, the struggle of the lion and the ox? This midrash alludes to a sprawling, expansive, and yet inner struggle between two great, formative forces that are both integral to the formation of and the building of the house of Israel, Yehudah and Yosef. According to our tradition, the ultimate redemption comes about as the result of a cumulative process through two redeeming forces, that of Yosef and Yehudah, the Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, two distinct forces which manifest themselves throughout history in different ways. Throughout the last Torah portions, we have seen that Yosef, as he has been manifest, is a fixer. And he's all about fixing the world, this very world, this physical world. He has that ability. He can take spiritual ideas and actualize them in the physical realm. He has the ability to interpret a dream, something as ethereal as can be, and translate it into very tangible action and save the world from starvation. As the Torah states in chapter 42, Yosef was the provider to all the people of the land. About Yosef, Torah testified in Parashat Vayigash, chapter 39, Hashem was with Yosef, and he became a successful man. Whatever he did, Hashem made succeed in his hand. Yosef's unique ability is to be able to manifest spirituality in the physical. Yehudah represents the spiritual power of the Torah, of faithfulness to Hashem, as we saw with his admission of Tamar's righteousness. He also has the ability to forego his own honor to do Hashem's will. Yaakov knows all of this. That's why we read in chapter 46, verse 28, he sent Yehudah ahead of him to Joseph to prepare ahead of him in Goshen. And our sages teach that this verse indicates that Yehudah was sent to, quote, establish houses of Torah study in Goshen, meaning he was sent to teach, to show the way, to prepare the spiritual side of Israel's stay in Egypt, to trailblaze a spiritual path, as Yosef was already there fixing the physical side. So Yosef is the ox, the one who knows how to plow the earth, to prepare the groundwork of being active and instrumental, to make an infrastructure, to bring redemption to this world, to prepare it and sustain it and fix it. He's responsible for building the physical infrastructure for the nation, without which it would be impossible to live. And with his help, Mashiach ben David can do what he does, the spiritual side. Yehudah is the lion, who represents godly strength, the classic understanding of a Messiah who roars with the truth and has the ability to bring the whole world to a recognition of Hashem's unity and kingdom. And when necessary, he also has the strength and selfless dedication to destroy any enemy who would come against the people of Israel. These two combined forces together represent the perfection of the task, the role of the nation of Israel in the world, the ability to clearly express the spiritual ideas of the Torah, solid godly ideas that are not subject to change. This is the force of Yehudah, and the ability of Yosef to apply these ideas in a changing, complex, physical reality, requiring an understanding of and sensitivity to this very world. In our Parsha, these two forces approach, despite their differences. Their tasks were always different from the very beginning. That's why they were inconsolable to each other 22 years earlier, when the brothers threw Yosef into a pit and sold him. But we were told back there, open up your heart in the deepest way, we were told back there in Parashat Vayigash in chapter 37, verse 18, the verse records, they saw him from afar. They saw him as separate from themselves, someone from a different mother, someone radically different from them, someone different from their approach to life, with a different task in this world which they did not understand, someone who threatened them. Yosef's dreams of dominance had caused his brothers deep suspicion, and this suspicion was well grounded, because the brothers knew that the messianic legacy of the Davidic rule was granted to Yehudah's descendants. It was Yehudah who was prophesied that he would be destined to reign and thus establish the kingdom of Hashem in this world. The differences between Yosef and his brothers were vast, and this was the cause of the gaping schism between them. But now, after everything that they've been through, the brothers, led by Yehudah, decided that it is time to draw near, despite the differences. Now Yosef is the ruler and the king, and as in his dreams, his brothers are bowing down to him. But in the very merit of Yosef's distinctly different task, on account of which he was originally alienated from his family, now he's become the ruler, and he saves the whole family. So this, then, is a picture of the mutual drawing close of these forces, the reconciliation of the spiritual power of Torah with the proactive power of involvement to bring about the redemption, self-redemption. That is constantly taking place in stages, even as we speak, within the nation of Israel, leading to the great and final and ultimate redemption, the drawing close of the forces of Yehudah and Yosef, of the physical and the spiritual. As we read in the Haftarah, the prophetic reading for this Shabbat, from the prophet Ezekiel chapter 37, and the word of Hashem came to me, saying, and you, son of man, take for yourself one stick and write upon it, for Yehudah and for the children of Israel his companions, and take one stick and write upon it, for Yosef, the stick of Ephraim, and all the house of Israel his companions, and bring them close one to the other into one stick, and they shall be one in your hand. And when the children of your people say to you, saying, will you not tell us what these are to you? Say to them, so says Hashem who is God, behold, I will take the stick of Yosef, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his companions, and I will place them with him, the stick of Yehudah, and I will make them into one stick, and they shall become one in my hand. And the sticks upon which you shall write shall be in your hand before their eyes, and say to them, so says Hashem who is God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the nations where they have gone, and I will gather them from every side, and I will bring them to their land. And I will make them into one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be to them all as a king, and they shall no longer be two nations, neither shall be they divided into two kingdoms any more. And my servant David shall be king over them, and one shepherd shall be for them all, and they shall walk in my ordinances and observe my statutes and perform them. And they shall dwell on the land I have given to my servant, to Jacob, wherein your forefathers lived. And they shall dwell upon it, they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. And I will form a covenant of peace for them, an everlasting covenant shall be for them. And I will establish them, and I will multiply them, and I will place my sanctuary in their midst forever.